Welcome back, AFM TV. Round 1 of Premier League's finished. Crazy week. Some unseen results happening. Started with Palace and Arsenal on Friday night, the opener. I didn't really get to watch that game because I was at work. I've seen some of the highlights. Arsenal looked pretty good. Palace also looked really good. I'm surprised Palace didn't score in that game. Again, the first games of the season tend to be the tight ones and a bit of a nervous game because you don't really know what you're going to get. And yeah, Arsenal came away with the victory, put themselves top of the table, and Palace obviously went away licking their wounds, thinking about their next game. Obviously, they need to improve, but I think they played some good stuff from what I've seen in the highlights. I mean, obviously, it's only a selected amount of highlights, so you can only go by what you've seen unless you recap the whole match, which I generally haven't had any time to do that. So, and then on to Saturday's game, which was Fulham versus Liverpool, which I did watch the whole game. Obviously, being a Liverpool fan, I watched the whole game. I thought Fulham were the better team. Liverpool didn't really get going. They just, whatever excuses like Klopp wants to make, I just think he's trying to protect his players. I just didn't think Liverpool got going. I just thought it was all the credit to Fulham. Mitrovic was a bit of a handful, bit of reservations about the penalty, but again, in this day and age, you dangle a leg, it's what you expect to happen. I thought Núñez coming on for Liverpool changed Liverpool's game. I thought that got them a point. I don't think they deserved a point. I just think completely out. Two moments of good play got us 2 goals wherein we really they should have been out of sight in the first half. We just didn't get going, I don't think, for the game. Thiago getting injured is massive as well. I think you might find that Liverpool have to dip into the transfer window and go and buy another midfielder just because purely they've got about 5 injuries at the moment. So, yeah, Fulham look okay. But again, it's always the first game syndrome where you come flying, you're at home, you fire out the blocks. And maybe that's what Fulham will just be, that team that play well at home, and not, it's hard to say they're going to play well away or not because it's only game 1. But you always get that thingy, like I've seen all the pundits saying this weekend, they think, oh, Fulham, they're playing really well. They can play like this all season. But again, the likelihood of playing like this all season it's just bizarre. They're not going to be able to maintain that level of football all season. Not saying they haven't got a good enough team, but it's just not going to happen. You know, at home, I can understand if the crowd get behind them. It's a very hard place to go and play. They might do well. Anyway, moving on to the next game was Bournemouth versus Villa. I had Villa on my score predictions to win this. I thought Villa would turn up again. From what I've seen in the highlights, Villa didn't turn up at all. Bournemouth played very well. Took a couple of good chances. Probably could have been more. I think Gerrard will probably be a bit disappointed with the performances. I mean, I've not seen any post-match interviews or anything like that. I've just gone straight off the cuff here. So I can't really comment on what Gerrard said, but Bournemouth should be happy with that good start. Again, it's another one of them where they're one of my teams that I think will go down. I just don't think over 38 game period they'll have enough to stay up. Could be proven wrong, but again, you just don't know what you're going to get. It's so early to predict. You can't really start looking at predictions till about the halfway point. I'd probably say about 18 games in, maybe, is where you can start looking about who's what and who needs to do what. But then you've always got the January transfer window to change stuff. So again, moving on to the next game was Leeds and Wolves. I had Wolves down to win this. I've seen a bit of Wolves in pre-season and they looked half decent. Leeds are a bit of one of those teams where they've just lost Calvin Phillips and lost Rafinha, and I thought that might massively impact them. It looks like Rodrigo stepped up quite a bit. So again, I put Leeds in that mix of teams to go down, but you just never know what you're going to get with Leeds. They're just such an open team and they're not going to play any different. I wonder if how they're going to play this season. And it's Jesse March, I think, is their manager. I just wonder how they're going to play this season all the way through. They're going to be the Bielsa kind of way and still just go at teams and we'll score and we'll leave ourselves vulnerable kind of thing. It's yet to be seen. Obviously, like I say, it's so early to be predicting these kind of things. But again, they're one of my teams to go down in that mix to go down. Wolves, I have them as a mid-table team, but again, they losing Conor Cody, letting him go to Everton, which I'm surprised of, being he's a captain. how that's going to impact them. But then I've seen they're linked with a couple of players to bring in, so they obviously it was part of the plan. Wolves, yeah, I feel they're a mid-table team. They're not massively strengthened, but they've still got some strong players in there. So again, yeah, I had Wolves down to win up at Leeds 1-2-1. So fair play to Leeds. And then Newcastle versus Forest. I bet this game was absolutely rocking to the old dogs of the Premier League. Obviously, Forest getting promoted. Newcastle, having the Saudi-backed owners now, and they've got the money to go and spend. They've made some good transfers. I think they're not finished yet, and I can see them being between, I'd probably say 8th to 12th is probably where I think Newcastle will finish. Could be higher, depending how they gel as a team as the weeks move forward. But it's a good 2-0 result for them. They looked pretty decent. Forest, I feel Forest, I think they just need to find their feet. Maybe their first home game will, bring them out a little bit more and they'll play a little bit better. But again, they could have lost 3 or 4-0 up Newcastle. They just didn't look like they were in the game at all for parts of it, and then they suddenly, I don't really recall them having many chances. Newcastle just in cruise control. So, then Spurs. Haven't seen any highlights from the Spurs game, unfortunately, but I did listen to the commentary on Sky Sports News, Soccer Saturday. Spurs 4-1. I expected it to be. I had 2 or 3-1 in my Super 6, so I'm not surprised by this result. Spurs have made some really good transfers and they look very strong. Whether that's going to be a consistent theme with Spurs, they're just going to try and dominate teams and stuff. James Ward-Prowse scored a good goal for Southampton. Again, they're another team. They've made some signings, lost some players. So again, I don't know what you can get with Southampton. They could be another team in the mix for relegation, but again, it might prove me wrong. It might be more towards the mid side of the bottom half of the table. But yeah, Spurs 4-1. I expected Spurs to win comfortably. But yeah, Richarlison, wonder how long he's going to be happy sitting on that bench. I am surprised they went for him. Everybody's raving about him. I personally don't think he did that much at Watford to warrant the move to Everton, and he's kind of gone to Everton and not really done much. Yeah, I think last year he got 9 goals. I just see he just seems to be one of those players that seems to moan a lot more than he does do on the pitch, and I don't know. I get the Pogba vibes from him, where everything everyone else is fault, and I'll just argue with you and whatever. But again, he might prove me wrong under Conte. Conte's a really good manager. I do like what Conte's trying to set up there. Kane, Son, and Kulusevski look really dangerous up front, and I think now they've got a bit more about them. They've got with Basuma in midfield as well, gives them another dimension, and then obviously you have got Richarlison who can be a threat. So I think Spurs will be in the mix for the top 4. I don't know if they'll push for Man City. If Man City could be too far ahead of most people. But nothing more than expected from Spurs. Everton versus Chelsea. I watched this game. I watched, I think, nearly off the whole 90 minutes of this game, and it was a bit of a weird game. Everton started quite well. I think they pressed and had some good attacking play in the right places. Chelsea did look semi-dangerous when they were going. Sterling, I think with Chelsea, the thing that they might find they're going to struggle with is they need an out-and-out striker. I think they need someone to support Sterling, and whoever they decide is going to be their left winger. They've had quite a lot of outs as well. I don't know how that's massively going to impact them over the season. Mason Mount looked okay, but again, I like Mason Mount, but again, I don't know. I feel he needs to move on and go to a team that better suits his style. He's a really good player. I just don't see, for some reason, I just don't feel he fits into that Chelsea mould. But yeah, Chelsea won 1-0. It was a penalty, and yeah, you get them. But again, it weren't the best of games, to be honest. It's not the best I've ever seen Chelsea play. Is Everton going to get better than that? Now they've just signed Conor Cody. It's another good centre back they've got in that team. But again, with Calvert-Lewin missing now for 6 weeks, I believe he's injured for, that could massively hurt them. I don't know if they need to. I think they need to. I know they've got a player coming in. It's called Onya. I think he's coming in for 35 million. I don't really know too much about him, so we'll see how he impacts that team as well once his paperwork's finished. Obviously, that's going through apparently today. So he'll be available for their next game week. So we'll see what we get from Everton. Again, it could be another team that's in the mix to go down, but then they could surprise everyone and be a top middle of the table team. It just wouldn't surprise me if they had a better season than Lampard this year after surviving last year. They've got rid of some of the players they probably didn't need in that dressing room. They've still probably got a few players they want to get rid of and bring in. So we'll see what business they do over the couple of weeks before the transfer window finishes. Right, so on to Sunday. I didn't see any of the Leicester-Brentford game. I was out, so I didn't get the chance to see any of that game or the highlights of that game. But Leicester went into cruise control from what I've read, 2-0 up. Looked in control, and then Brentford hit back, and Brentford then managed to get the equaliser late. I think it was like the 93rd or something minute. Maybe I might be wrong there. So again, Leicester, another team for me that normally if Leicester hold on to Maddison and Tielemans, I'd have them to finish in the top 8. If they don't hold on to Maddison and Tielemans, or one of the two, I could see them being in a lot of trouble this year. As much as I like Leicester as a club and what they've done and how they've built, I just don't. They have not barely. I don't think they've brought anybody in. I just feel you can't go into a new season, any season, no matter how good you were the last season. You have to bring players, and I think you have to keep it fresh. Give a little bit of competition to the players. I know obviously Brendan Rodgers is probably working on that. He was the same at Liverpool. He was very good. I thought he was a very good manager at Liverpool. Just probably the wrong timing, but he I think he just has to. I think they just have to work on getting a few players in over the line and adding to that squad to make it a little bit more depthy. Because also Fofana being linked to go away as well, if they lose 3 of those players, I could see Leicester being in that mix to be going down as well. There's about 6 teams I could see in that being that mix. But again, it's so early to guess. You're just looking at by people's squads and what they've done in business wise. It might completely surprise us and be the surprise package of the season. You just don't know. On to Man United versus Brighton. This is probably the biggest shock of the week. I say shocking, I mean in terms of you wouldn't expect the first game of the season, Brighton to dominate Man United and make the Man United just look so off the pace. I've not really talked to any of my Man United friends at the moment, but they just look so off the pace, Man United. I just don't Fred and McTominay in that midfield. They just ain't good enough. Unfortunately for McTominay, he was lucky not to get sent off. That challenge was it was a bad challenge. It was a red card straight. I just don't know how he got a yellow card for that. He's completely not even. It's just a bad challenge. They've got Harry Maguire in defence. I just think he's a lost cause at Man United. I don't think he was even that prolific at Leicester. They've bought in that Martinez, who he needs time to adjust, which is fair enough. You can't judge a player after one game, but he needs time to adjust. I believe their centre backs should be Varane and Martinez, unless they're going to play 3 at the back and have wing backs with Maguire in that 3 at the back. He's just a lost cause. I just don't see how Man United paid £80 million from it. It is absolutely bananas. But they've got De Gea in goal, so you've got De Gea in goal. You've got every chance because he does make a lot of good saves. So Ronaldo staying or going is another one of them weird key points of, do they need to keep him? They've been linked with, they've been linked with Arnautovic, who's 33, and now linked with the man from Juventus, and I can't remember his name. I was reading up on it for a couple of days. I think it came about yesterday. Another player that if Juventus are letting him go, he's not that good. I'm sorry, but Juventus tend to keep on to their best players. They don't tend to let them go. Rabiot, sorry, that's Alvio Rabiot. That's it. He, I don't know. I think United are just in desperation mode at the moment. They just want to get someone in and get someone into that squad, because the midfield I just don't think is good enough. Yeah, they look really good in pre-season, but you can look as great as you want in pre-season. As soon as the league starts, that's when it all begins. I mean, Man City, we'll talk about them next. They flew out the blocks and they looked in cruise control against West Ham. United just looked like they're stuck in the mud before they couldn't even get into first gear. And the goal they got was just completely fortunate. Brighton defended really well. They look like they've got a solid setup. They came, they had a plan. They knew how they were going to play. They didn't deviate away from that plan. They just looked really good. United looked like they were scrambling to try and find anything to get themselves into the game, to play well. You do that when you're desperate. When you're not playing well, you've got to look at things to mix it up and that. But they just look like a shadow of a team that they could be. Brighton, all hats off to them. They went there with a plan. They executed it. They got 2-0 up, and they still were in cruise control. It went 2-1. It could have been 3-0. There was a cast iron penalty. The VAR situation in this country is a joke. I don't understand how VAR has not looked at that and gone, that's 100% penalty, because he shoulder barged him in the back. He's gone flying down. It's 100% penalty. If the referee's missed it, fair enough. VAR is in that position to change that decision, to say, referee, go and look at the monitor. But he's not even looked at them. I just don't understand how they've not given that as a penalty. But we're going to see a lot of them this season. And that's the problem with VAR. It's not the VAR system itself. It's the people behind the VAR that are making these decisions that keep getting them consistently wrong. They're more than happy to go with the decision on field, because then it's like they're in a win-win situation for them, because they think they must see it. I stick with the referee, then it's on the referee. If we overturn it and it's right, then we've made a good decision. It's just, I just don't agree with it. Personally, I just don't agree with the VAR thing. But again, United got away with a 2-1 loss. It flattered them a little bit. It could have been 3-4, whatever, 1 or... I mean, the goal they got was completely fortunate as well. It just kind of rolled off Dalot, hit their defender, rolled back off Dalot and went in. Complete fortunate, but again, you get them. But yeah, I think United, they need to get a good 3 or 4 players into that squad. They need another striker. I mean, and Arnautovic might be the answer to their problems, might not be. Rabiot, I just think that's a panic buy. I think they're still hoping that they've got their fingers crossed for De Jong. But again, I've heard Chelsea are interested. Barca apparently want to keep him, but they want to sell him, but they want to keep him. That Laporta guy, I just don't... The president, he just talks out his arse, really, to be perfectly honest. He just keeps saying that he wants to keep him, but financial-wise, we might have to sell him. So you want to keep him or you want to sell him? Because if you want to keep him, you look at selling other players to balance the books to keep him. It's just windmills and circles. It's just crazy. Anyway, moving on from the Man United situation onto Manchester City versus West Ham. I've seen the second half of this game. I was out with my son, so I didn't get to see the first half of this game. So I've seen the second half, and from the highlights I've seen, Man City were just in cruise control from the get-go. West Ham had a chance early on. They didn't take it, and bar that might have maybe changed the game a little bit, but City were just in cruise control. They were a completely different team to what they were against Liverpool in the Community Shield. They looked very desperate against us. They were just trying to do too much, whereas in this game they were really relaxed. They were just passing it around. They weren't forcing the issue. That was the typical Man City that we used to seeing, and Haaland just looks like he fits straight into that team. But again, it's day one. I'm not going to get overhyped. Everyone's saying he's going to get 40 goals this season. If he does, fair play to him, but I'm not going to judge him off one game. I think you could have one good game, one bad game, one mediocre game. You're not going to have 38 good games a season. Some people saying 50 goals. The Premier League record's like 38 goals. It's never going to get 50 goals in the Premier League in a season. It's hard enough to get. Most strikers struggle to get 20. I mean, look at Son and Salah last year. We both got 23 or 22. I mean, the highest Salah's ever got was like 35, I think. It's hard to get that many goals in a season. It's hard to be that consistent and that ruthless. But in the City team, you've got every chance, just purely because the players they've got around him. But again, I don't think they're going to have it easy every game. Everyone's saying they're going to walk the league and they're going to get 105 plus points, and it's like people do this every season. They look at City and think, well, they've got the team, they should get that many points. But it's not. Football's not that easy, and football isn't that way. Football's full of surprises, and you get them little surprise results that you never saw coming. Man United, Brighton, for example. Some people probably saw it coming, but again, it's kind of a shock when Man United are at home. You expect on the first game of the season, new manager, But yeah, West Ham didn't really have much of a sniff. They had a few chances towards the end of the game from what I'd seen, but yeah, Man City just looked like they're in cruise control, and then Man City have got Bournemouth next. So at home, Man City's first game. Hold your hats, Bournemouth fans, because it could either be a really good game for you, or it could be you could get blitzed. And I think that's what you got to expect with Man City. That if you play well enough, you could defend them out, and they're patient enough and all that. But they're a very good outfit, Man City. All the money they've spent, you can get angry about all the money they spend, which they spend a fortune of money. You can get angry about it all you want, but it's Pep's put that team together. He's assembled that team because he wants a winning team. He wants a team that can compete on all 4 fronts, which is fine. They've got the money to spend, and rightly so. Why won't you spend it? you can get angry about it all you want. They outrageously spend. Yes, they do. But end of the day, you want that team. He's got probably 2 players for every position almost. That, you know, that Alvarez looks really good. That's came in. And they've also got Haaland as well. So they've added 2 really good strikers by the looks of it. Haaland, obviously, it's all on him really because he's done well in the Bundesliga. Everyone's looking at him saying, "Oh, you know, is this going to be the acceleration of his career? Is he going to be able to do it on the grandest stage of them all?" kind of thing. I think he'll score goals. I think he's guaranteed at least 15 goals this season, if not more, maybe double. But again, it's yet to be seen. Like you say, you were judging it off the first game. If you look at the players that have scored so far, Salah's on 1, Nunez is on 1, and Haaland's on 2. I'll probably put Kane and Son in that mix, and they'll probably be possibly the 5 players, or even Jesus from Arsenal, the 6 players that might be in for a chance of getting that golden boot. But again, it just isn't that easy. You know, you see it every season. Salah's been near enough the golden boot winner for the last 4 seasons. And the most goals he's scored is around 20 to 25. So it's not easy enough to go and say someone's going to score 30, 40 goals a season. But again, Haaland takes penalties as well. So that's another thing that can add to his thing. But then so does Salah. So it'd be a nice, interesting battle to see who gets that golden boot. So I don't know what you guys think about the golden boot. I looked at the odds, and I think the odds are obviously in favour of Haaland, but I think the odds on Salah would be pretty good to take a punt on. Or maybe Son again, but again, with that Tottenham dynamic now, I expect the goals to be spread around. So, so week 1 was a good, overall for football was a good week. Looking forward to what week 2 brings. Obviously, I'll do another video purely for the predictions for week 2. That'll go out at some point in the week. The strategy is going to be here is obviously at this point we don't have any midweek Premiership games, so at the moment I'm probably going to do my predictions video maybe between Tuesday and Thursday. It'll be a set day and it'll come out the same day every week, and then my results based video will be on the Tuesday, just purely because in case there's a game Monday night, which this week there is. It's Liverpool versus Crystal Palace at Anfield. So obviously I won't do the recap on the same night. It'll be the next day, just so I can purely go through all the stuff. Guys, I hope you like this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. The channel has only just been launched, so and I haven't really got my setup ready for all the football. I'm just using my studio setup for all my Pokemon based stuff. So until I can get something sorted for that, I'll be using this kind of area or I'll be out and about. Normally when I do my Sunday predictions, I'm out and about. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. As soon as everything's finished, I've literally got a logo being designed and all that kind of stuff. All my stuff's going to get updated. So on my banners and stuff, you'll see all that stuff. And then I'll be putting it all over my socials. I have a social page for my Pokemon, but I'm going to make a separate social. I might make a social for all of my stuff and put it all together. So football-based stuff you can find on there. But mainly it's going to be mostly stuff on YouTube. But yeah, guys, hope you like this. Please subscribe. Drop me a comment below if you have anything to add to this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing my predictions for week 2. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.